Hi, I'm Ms. Beaton.
Hi, Miss Elianna.
And today we're going to read for you the 1619 project, Born on the Water, written by Nikole Hannah-Jones and Renee Watson.
Illustrated by Nikkolas Smith.
Good job, Elianna.
Thank you.
High five. So today we want to remind you that good readers look at the cover of their book. They look at the illustration to make an inference about what they will be reading about in the story. They also look at the back of the book. The back of the book can also tell you a lot about what you'll be reading about as well. It might give you a little brief synopsis about what the story is about. So Elianna, can you make an inference about the text based on the illustration? First, tell them what you see in the illustration.
I see like a ship, some clouds, some people underwater and on the water.
I see that too. Elianna, you have a great eye. So let's take a look at the back of our book. You mind reading for us what's on the back of the book?
They say our people were born on the water, but our people had a home, a place, a land before they were sold.
So what does that lead you to believe that you will be reading about inside of the book?
I will be
Go ahead.
Well, say that the people were they say the people were born out of the water, but they did not. They had a home, a place, a land before they were sold.
And it says before they were sold. So what do you believe also happened is going to happen in the story? We're going to learn about what?
We're going to learn about how the people are kidnapped or something.
Okay. I like that. I like that word. The word you used was kidnapped. So Elianna, let's remind our readers what reading strategies we're going to use today.
We are going to be looking closely to the text.
Looking closely at the text. What else?
And looking for important information.
Okay.
And looking at what the characters are feeling, thinking, saying, and acting.
Ooh. Elianna said that today we'll be looking at what the characters are saying, what they're doing, what they're thinking, and how they're feeling. And this helps us to gain meaning from the text. Elianna, do you mind opening up your book and showing them what's inside of your book? Some Post-its. Elianna, come on over. Right, get closer, right? So Elianna has Post-its in her book. So one of the strategies that we use, one of the closed reading strategies that we use was each of us get our own copy of the text, right? And also we use Post-its to write down what we are thinking as we are reading the story. It also helps us to remember what we were doing and thinking when we were reading that page in the book. And it also helps us to just gather the information quicker. So Elianna, are you going to start off reading for us today?
Yes.
All right. So
questions. My teacher gives us an assignment. Who are you? She asks. Trace your route. Draw a flag that represents your ancestral land. Most of my classmates can count by many generations and learn about the countries where their families came from. They draw their flags, but I leave my paper blank. I do not know where I begin, what my story is. At home, Grandma asks, how was school? I tell her about the assignment, how I can finish it, how I can only come by 3 generations here in this country, where my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents were born. But before that, I do not know. I tell her that I am ashamed. Grandma gathers the whole family, says, Come, let me tell you our beginning. Let me tell you where from.
Elianna, that was excellent reading. So what I would like you to do, as I turn my book to the camera to show our audience, there's an expression on this young lady's face, and she is telling us about how she's feeling. Based on her expression, can you make an inference about how she's feeling, Elianna?
The expression on her face makes you think that she is nervous. She was nervous because she didn't know how to complete her assignment. She didn't know a lot about her ancestry.
So, Elianna, great work memorializing your thinking in the text using your Post-its. So, Elianna, you used the word just now, ancestry. Can you tell us what you believe the word ancestry means?
I think ancestry means where her ancestors came from.
Where her ancestors came from, where her people came from. Good work, Elianna. So myself and Elianna are also taking turns reading. What Grandma Tells Me. They say our people were born on the water, but our people had a home, a place, a land before they were sold. 400 years ago in 1619, our ancestors were taken and brought here on a ship called the White Lion, a whole year before the Mayflower arrived. But before that dreadful voyage, there was a time when they did not pray for freedom. There was a time when they did not sing about overcoming. Their story does not begin with whips and chains. They had a home, a place, a land, a beginning. Their story is our story. Before they were enslaved, they were free. Your go.
Okay.
There you go.
They had a language. They spoke Kimbundu, had their own words for love, for friend, for family. And the kingdom of Nanongo was nestled between the Lukala and the Kwanzaa River. On a high plateau in West Central Africa, the people were good with their hands, knew the power of seed, how to plant it, water it, and make something out of nothing.
Keep on.
The people were good with their minds, good at math and science. They could use shells for money, counting, recording, trading. They knew what their work was worth. They spoke Kimbundu, had their own words for joy, for grow, for home.
Oh, Elianna just stopped me. She reminded me that we are supposed to stop and do a check for understanding after every 3 subsections. So, Elianna, let's stop and see what we've learned so far. Can you tell me what you've learned so far from what Grandma's telling us?
So far, I've learned that our people were free. They had their own language, had their own words. They were also good with their minds, good at math and science.
Good job, Elianna. So as you can see, Elianna is referring back to her Post-its, which is a strategy that we're using today. Their hands had a knowing. Their hands had a knowing. They knew how to hold a baby close, how to rock the child to keep her from crying. Their hands knew how to mix herbs, how to get the just right flavor for a meal. Their hands knew how to beat and twist and shape iron, how to make gardening tools, armor, and weapons. Their hearts had a knowing. They knew how to make work joyful, how to create rhythm by pounding the tools against metal, knew how to make music to keep them company as they worked. Their minds had a knowing, worldly, curious, sharp. When they met the white people, they learned quick, taught their tongues to speak Portuguese, taught their eyes to read strange words. They knew how to mix the old with the new, how even an ancient people always had more to learn.
And they danced, and the people moved their feet, moved their whole bodies. The melody of horns and stringed instruments, of marimbas and drums. They danced to celebrate. To mourn, they danced as a way of worship to offer thanks. Their bodies a sob under open sky and bright sun. Their bodies a swaying testament to the beauty of creation.
Stolen, and the white people took them away, kidnapped them, baptized them in the name of their God, stamped them with new names. Ours is no immigration story. They did not get to pack bags stuffed with cherished things, with the doll grandmama had woven from tall grass, with the baby blanket handed down from generation to generation, all the way back, so far back that it carried the scent of the ancestors. They could not hug their fathers and mothers, daughters and sons, hearts thumping in rhythm, clinging to that final sweetness before the parting. No promises whispered from ear to ear of seeing each other soon. Just wails and sobs, confusion and wrists worn raw from shackles made of iron, feet split and bloody from the 200-mile march along the Kwanzaa River. They had no things, but they had their minds, the old ways, the harvest songs, the just right mix of herbs etched in their memories. They had their bodies, histories and bloodlines, and drums pulsating in their veins. With trembling fingers, they braided seeds into their hair, defiantly hiding tiny pieces of home to plant one day in new soils. No matter what some say, the people fought, and the white people took them anyway, forced them into the bottom of an evil ship to sail to a new world they had no desire to see. Ours is no immigration story. So Elianna wants me to show you the picture of the ship. Do you recognize this ship, Elianna?
Yes, I actually see the ship right here.
On the cover.
Yes. Black or white lion. Can you recognize?
You recognize it?
It's very far.
I think you're up next, Elianna. The white lion.
The white lion. No one knows how long it took before they knew. They would never see Ndongo again, never run along the high plateau, or throw their heads back and giggles with their best friends. Maybe it was the second month or the third when they had not seen their land or any land. For so many days, they could no longer count. Some could not bear the pain. They refused to eat. They shut their mouths until their hearts gave out. Others tossed themselves into the teal eternity eternity of the Atlantic Ocean, swimming on the last time with their ancestors, sickness and hunger, filth and cruelty, took the others almost half. But those who did not die resolved to live no matter what. Packed in darkness, dark misery. Strangers chained together, head to feet, hip to hip. In the bottom of the ship clawed the white lion. They saw that these strangers, men, women, children, kidnapped too, from many villages. These were the people now. These many people became one people, new people. And that is why the people say, we were born of the water. We come from the people who refuse to die.
So Elianna, we just finished reading the subsection, Stolen and the White Lion. And Elianna turned to me and she said, I recognize something that I saw on the cover also inside the book. And she told me that she saw some of the images, some of the figures that were on the cover. She saw them also in the book. So Elianna, what else did you learn about what it means to be born on the water?
Like, born on the water means the people who refuse to give up. The people who did not die and decided to live no matter what.
So as you can see, Elianna is reading from her notes on her Post-it. She wanted to remember what she was thinking as she was reading, and she decided to write it down on a Post-it, which is one of our reading strategies today. Good job, Elianna.
Thank you.
Yes, it's me.
Comfort.
Point comfort. Finally, the ship stopped moving, and the people were dragged to the deck. They closed their eyes against the light of a sun they had not seen since Mother Africa's coast. They closed their eyes against the sight of a land that was not theirs. They cried a silent cry as white men spoke strange words, talking about their bodies with a handshake. Traded another's child, another's mama, and daddy, 20 to 30 beloved human beings in all, for a few pounds of food and drink. 400 years ago, in the year 1619, the white people called this land Virginia, a sweet-sounding word for a place with such pain, a sweet-sounding word for the place where American slavery began.
Tobacco fields. From sun up to sundown, the people worked the fields, growing and harvesting tobacco. The crops were sold to Europe, bringing wealth to Virginia. But the enslaved people did not get anything in return for the labor. The people worked and worked. When the people grew weary, they remembered their yesterdays, remembered their songs from the Congo, sang them to ease up spirits. As they sang, they looked into the future, hope for better days, planted prayers into the heavens, praying for freedom.
How to make a home. After a long day's work planting tobacco in the fields, after brutal treatment, after nothing to show for their hard work, sadness would come, a longing for Ndongo, for the mamas, for the daddies, for the friends they could no longer hug and talk with under the warm sun. We are in a strange land, they said, but we are here, and we will make this home. We have our songs, our recipes, our know-how. We have our joy. We will love, laugh, sing, and hug our children as tight as you can hold a child. We will survive because we have each other. And so the people planted the seeds they carried over the ocean, snuck to visit one another in the dark of night, sang songs, swapped tales of yesterday, remembering, remembering. And the people planted dreams and hope, willed themselves to keep living, living. And the people learned new words for love, for friend, for family, for joy, for grow, for home. We are in a strange land, they said, but we are here and we will make this home. We have determination, imagination, faith. We will survive because we have each
Tuckers of Tidewater, Virginia. 1624, Anthony and Isabella, enslaved on the plantation of Captain William Tucker and his wife Mary Tucker, to ordinary people forced to till the soil, forced to build a country they were not from, found a way to build a love for each other, to marry and create a family, a legacy. They did not know their family would be the start of a new people. They were just two ordinary people who had a son, a new beginning, a promise to live on and on.
William Tucker. Hope is a promise. Faith that a better day will come. Belief that things will not always be this way. Hope is a refusal to give up, to die out. Hope is a child born. Way back then, hope had a name, William Tucker. He was born to ordinary people, a man and a woman, who were not free, but who believed in freedom. Who were not free, but who believed that one day freedom would come, even if they never saw it. These two ordinary people gave life to an extraordinary child, a child not of Africa, a child not of Europe, nor of the native peoples already here, but a child of the new people formed on the water. The first black child born in the land that would become the United States. The first truly American child. We stopped to do a check for understanding. We learned a lot about the people that were born on the water. One of the things that we learned is that they made a home here in America. They decided to survive and they started to build families. We just finished reading about William Tucker. And Elianna, would you like to fill us in on what you learned?
I learned that the girl's family came from the people who were born on the water. I also learned that the Tuckers, William Tucker is her people, and the first to be born in America.
So we've learned a lot about this young lady, about her family history, and I hope that you are also making the same inferences that Elianna is making based on the text. Let's continue reading.
Resist. Life was hard, and it would get harder. For generations to come, white people told the people they were not human, that the people were things to be bought and sold and given as gifts, alongside horses and chairs. When the people were beaten, they said the people did not feel pain. When the people sold the people's children, they said the people didn't love. These were lies they made up so they could feel okay about slavery. It was wrong always and forever to own human beings. It was wrong always to forever to treat human beings like things. The people fought back for 250 years. The people resisted every day and waves, big and small, for 250 years. The biggest resistance of all was that people kept living.
Legacy. And the people who were born on the water survived, kept living and living. It was illegal to teach enslaved people how to read, but they birthed generations of teachers and librarians, scholars, and authors. They were broken-hearted, beaten and bruised, but they became healers, pastors and activists, doctors and counselors. No one could steal the people's joy. They wrote songs, created jazz and hip-hop, rhythm and blues. They became inventors and athletes, nurses and cooks, pilots and architects, farmers and housekeepers, singers and artists, dancers and poets, mathematicians and scientists. They passed on their stories through the stitch of a quilt, shared secret messages through song. The people survived, the people fought. And because the people survived and because the people fought, they finally got freedom. And because the people survived and because the people fought, America has equality in the law. And because the people survived and because the people fought, America began to live up to its promise of democracy. It is the people who fight for this democracy still.
I just wanted to say I noticed one person.
Who do you notice?
That this young woman is on the first page of this.
She's on the cover of the story?
Yeah. And okay. I see other people that I learned about in school.
Who did you learn about in school?
Shirley Chisholm.
Okay, Shirley Chisholm.
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Thank you, Elianna.
I think, Nina Simone's all the way in the back.
Nina Simone is all the way in the back? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. Can't see all the way.
You got a good eye, Elianna, to see Nina Simone all the way in the back.
All the way in the back.
All right. Pride.
Pride. Grandma looks at me and my brother tells us, this is why we say Black Lives Matter, why we celebrate Black Girl Magic, why we believe we are our ancestors' wildest dream. Never forget, we are their hope. Never forget, you come from, and people of great strength. Grandma says, be proud of our story, your story. The next day, I go to school, pull out my red crayon, my blue, and my white. I draw the stars, and I draw the strips of the flag of the country of my ancestors that my ancestors built, that my grandma and grandpa built, that I will help build too. And I am not ashamed. I know what my story is, where I am from, where I begin.
Good job, Elianna. High five. So we've come to the end of our story. We just finished reading Pride, and myself and Elianna are noticing that there's a change in our character. If you take a look at the picture at the end of our story and compare it with the picture at the beginning of our story, we see that there's a change in our character's facial expression. Elianna, how did she look at the beginning of the story?
She looked nervous.
Nervous. And how did she look at the end of the story, Elianna?
Happy, and her expression looked like beaming with pride.
And she's beaming with pride. Good job, Elianna. So what do you think may have caused this change in our character from the beginning of the story to the end?
Because she looked happy and beaming with pride because she learned more about her ancestor.
And where she came from, right?
Yes.
And so another thing that she can do at the end of the story is also complete the assignment. She can actually draw the flag of where her family came from because her family helped to build America, helped to build this nation. Elianna, do you agree?
Yes, I do agree.
Okay, so thank you for reading with us today. I'm Ms. Beaton.
I'm Miss Elianna.
And have a great day.
Toodaloo.